could school learn?
Oh.
Yeah, let's go there.
Yeah,
Tell me about you.
What could school
Because you
learn?
mentioned earlier that
So
School
my
wasn't great for you.
schooling experience was not the best. So I did 4 schools before high school. So I did my first year of kindergarten at Pymble Public. Then I got glandular fever at the age of 4. In case you don't know, glandular fever is known as the kissing disease. Most people don't get it till high school. Record breaking me. Got that in the first year. And then I moved to Pymble Ladies College, PLC. And I did cater to there. And then Dad left. And I think the first sign that I wired very differently from most people was they gave us the option, because the principal had changed at the same time. They had a little bit of a run-in with our parents, and it was you could stay and do another year. So I could go into year 3 and do another year at Pymble, or I could move on now. And I automatically chose to move on because I said that like it would be too hard to do an entire year of schooling. And like just knowing that you're going to leave, making all your friends and then just knowing that it would end. So I moved on. At this school, at Pymble, my music was really encouraged. I had the best teacher. Her name was Miss Stelkova. I love her. I still remember her. I remember her performing in Cats, and she had these like little squishy toys with like googly eyes on them. Like one was an eggplant. I don't know. Those are like memories from my childhood. They're just like so ingrained as like an image. And like all of my music was super encouraged. And the only thing I wanted to do was a senior musical, the Year 6 musical that my aunt wrote. My aunt used to write the Pymble musicals every year for Year 6. She would write them and direct them, all the music and stuff. And I used to watch the musicals once. And then I'd go away. And because my mum used to play the flute in the bands, I'd learn every word to every song. And my parents were like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, it's just like you can't remember anything else. Like, I was the kid that would forget their lunch or their hat or their bag completely. You have to turn around and go back and then try and go to school again. But then I could learn every song to these words. It's like music was so ingrained in me. And then I moved to another school, Gordon West. And I was miserable. This is when I first was in co-ed though. And I said that I would befriended all the guys because the girls would annoy me. And so like that was the first like real like sense of who I was as a person.
Primary school.
But the music program there, other than the bands were very good. I was the only girl drummer. I think there were 6 drummers when I first started drumming. 6 drummers and the only female. And I was the one that they would always put on the drum kit, which my parents laughed at because you couldn't see me over the toms. Like, yeah, so I was just very small. And I couldn't play the triangle, but I could play a drum kit. That also really confused my parents because I was like they were like, how are you coordinated enough to do like a drum kit, but the triangle is a difficult thing for you? I learned how to play the triangle for clarity.
You're not still struggling.
Struggling. I can do it now.
I could probably teach you right now.
Oh, brilliant. But
such
yeah,
a smart ass.
I got a few things where I got told that my singing wasn't good enough. Like I'd grown up singing and my parents had always been like, I was pretty good at singing. And I was like, am I not good at singing? All those things. I got excluded from like this choir. And then I did like a talent show and a teacher came up to me afterwards and said, oh, wow, you're really good at singing. Were you in this choir? And I said, no, I wasn't. And that was just like my first like moment of a conflict with music teachers. Yeah. It was quite disheartening and I was quite miserable there. Another thing was I was quite naturally gifted academically. I'm not smart. I'm a smart kind of dumb. It's true. But like I was like pretty good. Like I was like an A student and I was like pretty well in all of my classes and like above average.
Can I just you got into psych after the HSC.
Yeah,
You're
well,
not dumb.
Yeah.
You're not dumb. You got early entry?
Yeah, I got
You're not
like 2 of them.
dumb, honey. Okay.
Oh, I know this, but like I didn't really try and I was just sort of naturally given that. But then I moved, when I was at this primary school, the co-ed one, the public school, I started getting like sounds and I was so confused. Sound is like your C or something like that. And I get everything. And my parents were like, this is like a really smart kid. Like, what happened? And like, I generally started believing that. I was like, oh, maybe it is just because I'm dumb. It wasn't. My parents then got me tested for the first time. They just did like an academic test. I think this was in like year 3 or 4. I think I had a reading age of like 50 or something. So like that was pretty high for how old I was. And so my parents were like, oh, the school's just, you know, overlooking someone. And then my dad gave me this opportunity because I was so miserable at this school. He goes, do you want to go to Ravenswood early? So I was always going to Ravenswood, but it was planned for like year 7.
Yeah.
And they gave me the option to move at the same year as Emma. Emma, who's 2 years older than me, she was going into high school. They were like, do you want to go in year 5? I was like, yes. So I went to Ravenswood and things just started falling into place. The music teachers like snapped me up. I had all this drum experience and my drum teacher was amazing. He was a guy named Paul and he was so encouraging. You know, he gave me my cajon. He was the one who inspired that one. It was great. And I got started putting in like the senior bands and I got solos and I ended up getting the lead in my year 6 musical. I got diagnosed with ADHD. That was a big one. Which is just because my brain's just very wired differently. And so all these things that were considered as like a bad student or disorganized or things like that, answer. I was
Beautifully
like, oh.
wired. Can I just reframe? Beautifully wired.
Yeah, no, I like it. I call it my sparkle. Yeah, it just makes me a little special. Good special, not
Makes you
bad
fast,
special.
Fast special.
Fast special.
Yeah.
Talk
But
a
like
lot.
knowing what it is means that you, not just you, but your teachers are able to
Exactly.
manage it and teach to you in a way that's actually
Yeah.
a little bit more tailored to how you learn, right?
So I'd say, and even this was like another thing was in this primary school, I was in the tournament of the minds, which is like for the academics.
Ooh.
I even got tested for like extension and I might have purposely failed that because the teacher scared me. And my mum was so mad at me for that one. But like, you know, this is the same kid that was getting sounds. You know, I was finally, you know, falling into my own. I was so happy there. Moving into the high school, I had similar things. I was the youngest lead in the musical.
Thriving.
Oh yeah, the Aladdin one. Here's the first thing of a gender. I was Aladdin in Aladdin for my year 6 musical. And I was so happy to play a guy role and I felt comfortable in the male costuming. So like that's a, you know, hilarious one.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that's another thing that I look back on and go, oh, most people would be really thinking. I was like, great.
Because most girls would want to be Jasmine, right?
Oh, yeah, no, I wanted to be
Yeah.
Aladdin. I was going to be the lead.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the sub lead. What am I? But yeah, and then even my second role was also a male character. Fun fact, didn't play a female role in high school until year 10.
Wow, Rach.
But yeah, I was only male roles. I did get threatened with getting kicked from my role in year, I think it was 7 or 8. They were like, if you keep developing, we're not sure if we can keep you in this role as a little boy.
Boobs, don't grow.
Boobs and hips and stuff. So I ended up in like a baggy tee and stuff. They did have to teach me how to run like a guy because apparently I ran like a girl. I was like, shocking. But yeah, so I was had this extraordinary, like encouraging environment under this. The music director's name was Mr. Witham. And I'll also remember him always because he was really good. He was the one who was putting me in the senior bands when I was still in primary school.
Yeah, wow.
And things like that. Then
what
there was
happened?
a changeover. And all of these opportunities and encouragement that I was getting just sort of disappeared. I was so confused because I was in 3 bands and orchestra and rock band and choirs and tech team and theatre sports and musicals and drama productions.
Yep.
So I did everything. If it was offered in the music department, I was there.
So what happened?
What
What do you think happened?
They didn't like me, I think is the general thing. Or they didn't like my voice, which is like a personal thing. I'm not classically trained, even to this day. I grew up as a drummer and I was raised on like Linkin Park and Evanescence and, you know, ABBA, Queen. That's what I was raised on. So I'm really not a classically trained singer. I loved Pink, like things like that. A lot more grunge and roughness to it, and musical theatre. But I stopped getting solos. I got put into like backup singing. And then I was kicked from the bands when I chose to focus on singing rather than drums. Because, of course, my parents couldn't afford for 2 lessons. I was working from the age of 14 to pay for my own dance lessons because at that point I still wanted to go into musical theatre. And like all this stuff just happened. And it reached a point where I started questioning again. I was like, am I actually a bad singer? Like, am I not good? Because you know those kids in high school who's like, my mummy says that I'm a really good singer and I'm phenomenal. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I one of those people that's actually really awful? It's just that my parents have always told me that I'm gifted. Like, I had one of those things. It's like, was I wrong? And so that like really got taken away, but they played such cat and mouse with it. Like, it was so non-consistent, like to the point where I got an award for like best performance, and I was a scholarship for my music. It was the old girl scholarship, and I was given to an all-rounder because my mum was a old girl. So I was on this scholarship, and part of it was for my music. And, you know, occasionally I'd get a solo, but then I didn't get other awards, things like a thing called Colours. When Colours was originally done, it was like 3 years commitment to an ensemble, whether it be a band or an orchestra stuff, and you just get one for each of them.
And you wore them on your jackets.
Yeah. So technically I was eligible for mine, for some of them, a year early because I'd been part of those bands since primary school. And the year that I was eligible for it, they changed it and it became a thing of excellence. I don't know about you, but I think excellence is the most annoying and dumbest word, and it should never be in a school. Because what is excellence if not subjective?
It's not like running race, is it?
No.
Or hurdling. There's a winner and there's a loser.
For me, I value dedication and hard work and commitment so much more to excellence. And so I think then once the rules changed, it became about excellence. It was available in year 9. You could apply for it. And I didn't get it in year 9. And I was so confused because I was a soloist. I'd made it to finals in all the singing contests. I'd been leads in musicals. I'd done all this stuff.
Did all those bars.
I'd hit all of them, and I'd hit them high. And I wasn't. And then so I went to the teacher, the head of the music department. I went, so what's up? I did it in a very honest way of what more do I have to do? And the result, the advice I was given while I'm in tears was, maybe you should take a step back. Terrible advice to someone whose like heart is music. So I worked harder. I, switched singing teachers. I worked my butt off, and the next year I got it. And this sort of treatment continued for the next 2 years of my schooling. And then, of course, the final ones, which is full colours, comes around, which is like the next step up. And, of course, in the year 11, it comes around again, and I don't get it again. And so I go back and I go, what more can I do? And again, they go, well, it's based off excellence. So that was like a whole thing. And I totally lost my music and my love of music. And I find a lot of solace in music as well as listening to music. My parents know when I'm in a really bad headspace if I stop singing. I know the crap out of them. Don't get me wrong, because I sing everywhere and I'll sing anything. But they get more worried if I stop. And
so did you have a moment where when that woman said it's about excellence that you turned off? Did your brain what happened?
I think it was like in the year 11 or something that just,
was it that?
I just shut down.
Right.
So what they worked out was I didn't start singing a psych properly. Like I'd sort of seen psychs on and off throughout my high schooling, especially after the year 3 and 4. That was like my first stint of like anxiety and depression.
Right.
But it got better when I got put into a better space.
Yep. With more nurture and
care.
care.
More nurturing.
Yep.
And then this sort of thing happened, and then they looked back and they were like, well, actually you've been depressed for 4 years now. And then I had another psych who went, yeah, you actually have post-traumatic stress from psychological abuse from your teachers. And I was like, oh, and that was so hard for me because when you think about like post-traumatic stress, you automatically go to like war veterans
Always.
or things like that. Like that's what you'd think, right?
Always.
And you're like, I can't have post-traumatic stress. Like I haven't had anything like that. And
No
like,
one bashed me.
yeah, I was like, nobody's hit me. I haven't experienced literal shell shock. Like, what do you mean? And like I always like had that as a diagnosis, but it didn't really come full circle until my first year of uni. I was studying theatre and film at Notre Dame, and I had my first panic attack. I'm someone who's never experienced even stage fright as a kid. Like, for me, my happy space is on a stage. Just give me a microphone, let me talk, let me sing. I've had things. James Morrison. I don't know if you know him, famous trumpeter.
Yeah.
I've performed with him on stage, and there was a big tech issue, and I just stood there and talked because I was just comfortable. But then this first year of uni comes around, and this was like this tiny drama assessment in front of just my class. Like it wasn't even like a panel things, which can be very anxiety for some people. This was just like a casual assessment, and I had a panic attack, and like that was like terrifying.
Yep, they are terrifying.
And like that was when I first like accepted the fact. I was like, oh, this is actually a thing.
Yep.
And like I'm challenging it now, but like I couldn't go back to my school because like just walking near those places made me so stressed and uncomfortable and things like that.
Rachel.
Yeah, no, I identify with that as well because having also been told, hey, you have post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm like, but I haven't been in a violent accident. I haven't been to war. But then the panic attacks start and that's really
An
tough.
oh shit
It's
moment.
scary. Yeah.
Debilitating, isn't it?
Oh, it can be. Yeah. But I don't know if you found this as well. Probably in the same way that I imagine getting a clear diagnosis of your ADHD, being aware of what actually was manifesting for you, did that help in terms of moving forwards? Probably more so in the I'm sure from experience being told, hey, you got PTSD doesn't help you in the short term, but in the long term it helps you, I found, start to identify things for what they are and manage them a bit more and start on that journey. How did that?
For me, it took a lot longer because I was still avoiding everything. So I'm finally back studying, but I didn't start till 2021 studying and doing music again, which was, quite difficult for me. That was the first time I properly sung because I didn't have, I pretty much stopped singing for like 3 years. To anyone who knows me, that's like real freaking weird because I'll sing every day. So that was like a big thing for people. But yeah, it's more been like I've had to address things head on because for me, a lot of it was like just numbness.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I have always been a very easygoing person. I'm an easygoing kid. I was the middle child. It wasn't until all of this stuff happened that my parents actually went, oh shit, because I don't like being a burden to anyone. And I just sort of numbed everything down and presented like a happiness to people. So I've actually had more issues working over like emotions and feeling emotions again other than just baseline happiness, which is what I present to a lot of people. Yep. So I still don't cry in front of people. It makes me very uncomfortable. I don't feel safe with that. I think I cry in front of my mum and my dad and like that's it. Occasionally my sister, I think Annika's seen me cry like once in like years. Like I don't even cry at movies. I'm like that. Like,
what would that mean if you cried in front of people? What do you make that mean?
For me, like it shocks a lot of people because again, I don't do it very much.
But what do you make it mean?
It means that I'm probably a very low point. Right. If I have like so collapsed with all of my like barriers and like things, because I'll talk about things, especially what I've been through. I give a lot of like surface area. I wear a lot of things on my sleeve. I joke that I'm an ADHD, depressed, queer.
Sticky sock girl.
Yeah. Grippy sock vacations. Like I joke about all of this stuff. And then, so it's not until like if I actually like break down or like things, it's like a lot of people don't realize like how serious a lot of things are until I cry.
Yeah, because you are very funny. You are-
Hilarious
you
and
are
delightful.
hilarious. You are all of that, and you do that self-deprecating thing where you
do it very well.
You do. You take the piss out of yourself, and it's you and I both do that. We've got a bit of a thing that
It's a coping mechanism.
It is a great coping mechanism. I'm curious, when you're with people that cry, how does that make you feel?
It makes me so uncomfortable.
Because I cry all the bloody time. And
You're
with me and you just seem to cope.
I'm okay with people crying. I don't know what to do with it though.
Right.
Have you seen Big Bang Theory?
Yes, love it.
I react like Sheldon.
Oh.
It's like, you know, when he does like the back pats and goes, they're there.
Amy, it's okay.
Yeah,
Amy.
that's like sort of my immediate reaction.
Right.
So I'm very good with talking with people.
It's
and
not
like
void
counseling.
of empathy.
It's not void. In fact, I've been told that I'm too much of an empath.
So therefore you just step back.
It's just more of like, I'm not a very physically aware person. And as someone who is, I'm not very physical with anyone. I'm touchy and feely with my family, but I don't give most people hugs.
Yeah.
Like even my uncles and stuff, I give them a crisp fist bump.
Yeah.
So like even hugging people, I'm like, awkward hugs. I'm queen of a side hug. I'll give you one of those. I think that might have been church training though as well. Yeah.
I don't even know what a side hug is.
It's when you just do the side one.
Hey.
Yeah,
Oh.
you just
No
reach
front
around.
on contact.
No front on.
That's the-
Oh.
Which, if you're raised working with children in a church, that's what
Yeah.
you're taught to do because you can't hug anyone front on.
Right.
So I'm really good at those.
Side hug. I must get good at that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was reading, like literally the other day, this article about how when we talk about emotions that people like you and me, and I don't know, not sure how you identify with this or don't identify with this, Ness, but that are quite good at keeping their emotions guarded, that it's not that in itself is a bad thing, but that identifying those not negative emotions, but those reactions of fear or sadness or anxiety are actually a part of your alarm system.
Yeah.
And it's actually, you can't know if your alarm system is working unless it's on.
Yeah.
And so actually not feeling those things isn't healthy.
Not at all.
No, it's not.
Because if you're not feeling those things, then your alarm systems aren't going off and you're actually putting yourself in situations potentially where you might run into harm because your alarm systems haven't gone off to warn you that something's wrong.
I used to have to rely on other people to tell me that my alarm systems were on. Because again, I did the same thing. I don't know if anyone else has been through this. I need to know, has your psychologist ever given you like a color chart of emotions? Which is like something that like, you give to like children when you're teaching them the different emotions. Yeah, I had to have that to relearn emotions and what did we feel this week, Rachel? And it's like, I don't know. It's just, that. But like mine were always, my red flags were like a messy room or messier room. I like to call it organized chaos generally. It's when it reaches like just pure chaos that's a red flag. Cutting myself off from people. And again, the non-singing. Because often like you don't realize those things about yourself. So I'm very lucky that I have a very attentive family that would be like, Rachel, red flags.
What's going on, honey?
What's going on? And then
Yeah.
it wouldn't be till like that. And then someone would point it out to me and then it'd just break down. I'm getting better.
Yeah.
But again, I've been in counseling for over 6-7 years now.
It's amazing.
And I'm only just getting there. I've started, feeling anger. I guess I don't really hold resentment to the people that did the things to me.
That's okay. I've got enough going on over here.
Oh, okay, cool.
I can hold it for you, darling. I don't know how healthy that is, but I'm pretty pissed off with them. I want to know their names.
Yeah, no, we'll
I want to
not
write
put
some
them in.
letters.
Well, another
You're
thing
gonna
was
flip through the
we
door.
weren't allowed to pursue any legal action because my dad worked there.
Yeah.
That was a thing. And that's a good story. My mum posted something. So my mum's a teacher and she posted on her private account talking about the positive and negative effect that teachers can have, because it was on like some sort of teaching page of like teachers on the students. And she just did it and like told things that happened to me and like my story. Just like to tell other teachers, it's like reminder that you can have a positive and a negative effect on your students. And somebody flagged that with the school, and my dad got pulled into like HR and like confronted about this post. Keep in mind, this was his wife's personal post on her private account.
Yeah.
He got pulled into HR for that, which means somebody
snitched.
someone snitched.
Panic.
And then my dad had to then explain it. But apparently no one had really, because nothing would really be formally done about it. There were a few things that were changed and fixed, which was good, but no one had really done anything or even told people about what I'd been through in the high school experience. And it wasn't until my dad went, actually, do you know what happened? And they didn't. And then that came with a formal apology. Like they were like, actually, we are so sorry. Please apologize. And I was like, well, that's good at least. But like that was like such a thing of, I guess you really need to be aware of the effect. That's why I try and be a nice person, because you don't know, like even on your bad days, how you react can affect someone else. And it could be absent-minded, which is why I don't hold a grudge against these people. They weren't doing it on purpose. They were just living their own lives. And I, reaped the repercussions of that. But
it's a little bit like bullying in a school scenario. If the authorities don't get involved and shut that shit down, the detrimental effect on the psyche of the kids that are being bullied can ruin their lives. Many people have killed themselves over bullying when they get to 25.
It's why I really
Do you know what
tried.
I mean?
I was actually really upset that no one knew anything, because the only thing that I wanted, they asked me what I wanted to come from this. And I said, I just want things to be put in place so it doesn't happen to anyone else. And then I sort of witnessed a similar thing happen to my younger sister, to the point where she moved and did all of her music and stuff with
externally.
Knox, which
great.
was our brother's school, because she was getting a similar treatment. I was like, that's the only thing I wanted to come from it.
Oh, Rachel, thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah,
it's such a powerful one.
Again,
and
learn from it. That's all I want.
Yeah,
I want people to ask questions, whether it be of faith, again, or gender or sexuality. Ask the questions, because I hope that the reason that I went through these very, very, very annoying things and sad things is so that somebody can hear my story and know that, someone else has had it and they can learn from it.
It's shaped you.
It has.
Absolutely.
I think also the
good and bad
benefit of sharing stories like this is that if people are currently experiencing the same things, you are evidence that you will get through it.
100%.
It's not, those wounds do heal.
They do.
And I'm not saying yours are totally healed.
Oh gosh, no. Let me tell you, it is a work in progress, and it will take years of therapy, but that's okay. Because we're all work in progress.
Yeah. And it does get better.
It does.
Yeah.
You find a place, you find people, you find, I guess the best way to call it is anchors. Anchors that keep you level.
Grounded.
And grounded and aware, or just in the moment. That's my other step of if you're like stressed or things, take it one step at a time. I still don't really think about the future, and people are like, what are you doing with your life? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to get through this week and then we'll figure it out from there.
Well, where I stand, I mean, we work together, we're colleagues, and I watch you, and I just am watching you flourish as a performer, as a solo artist, as a woman of faith, as a queer woman. I get to see all of that, and it's a real privilege to be able to do what we do together. You are an asset to the whole God rainbow spectrum of life.
Yeah, include everyone.
Yeah, you really are, Rachel, and we're just honoured to have you today. Thank you.